Greetings. In this video, I'll be talking about Pocketbase, which is my favorite system for building the backend for an application. So what is Pocketbase? Pocketbase is basically a Golang-based server with SQLite. It's a server that offers a suite of services that you would typically need when you're building an application. So you get things like a database, a SQL database. You get authentication, file storage, and a very sleek admin dashboard. That is one of the best features of Pocketbase, I think. And it's very easy to deploy. You can just deploy it as a single executable, and it just makes things so convenient. And I would just like to demonstrate just how convenient it is. So you would just go to the Pocketbase website, and in the docs section, you would find a download link. So you choose a download for your platform. I am on 64 macOS. Okay, so now I'll go to where I downloaded the Pocketbase executable. So when you're developing a project, what you might do is you might copy the executable into your project directory so that you can sync the version of Pocketbase that you're using with your project. Okay, so I'll open the terminal in the directory where I extracted the Pocketbase executable. To run the server, you just run the executable as promised. And we need to pass it a few parameters. So we'll say --dev. So to run it in dev mode and serve. And we're presented with a screen to create our first super user account for Pocketbase. This would allow us full super user access to the dashboard, where we can create our collections and view logs and perform other operations. Okay, so now that we've created our account, we see the Pocketbase dashboard. And the first thing you see is the collections view, where we have our collections, the default collections for us. The most important of which is the user's collection. Okay, but there's also a system collection, which is for internal use. But let's create a collection to see what that process is like. Okay, so if we were to create something like a blog, we might want to have a collection of posts. So let's create some posts. So post is the name of the collection, and we get for free 2 fields, a created and updated field. But we'd also want a title and content. For content, do we want rich content? Yes, let's do that. We'll say which user, which editor type. Oh, and let's add a relation. Let's say we want author field. So we'll go to relation and see that the collection that we are linking it to, which is users, and it's a single field. We also have multiple. Okay, so let's start with these 3 fields: title, content, and author. Okay, so we say create, and we have our post collection. We can create a new post. Let's say first post. This is my first post. And because it's a rich editor field, we have some formatting options here. And we can pick the author from the user picker, but we don't have any users currently. Let's create a user. And then we can set the author as the user we just created. Okay, so let's create our record. And we see it here. Okay, and for the fun part, let's try to access our posts collection from an API endpoint. Okay, to get an idea or to get some documentation of what our APIs would look like, we can go to API preview. And to list the items in a collection, we have three options. We can use the JavaScript SDK, the .SDK, or we can use the API endpoints directly, which has the form API/collections/posts/records. Okay, so let's try this. And it's telling us that only super users can perform this action. This is actually one of the better features of Pocketbase. We have authorization, so we can write rules to determine who can access our data. Okay, so let's go back to our collection. We go to posts. And we have API rules. By default, everything is locked down, but we can write rules to determine exactly how we want our data to be accessed. So to make it readable by everyone, we can leave the field empty and save. So what this means is that anybody can view all the posts and everyone can view a single post. Okay, so let's just save it. Okay, let's go back to the browser. And now we see a list of posts. So that's a quick view of how easy it is to create an API endpoint with Pocketbase. Of course, there's a lot more things that you can do, but I think this would give you a demonstration of just how powerful it is. Okay, let's look at a few other things. We have some logs, so we can see which API points were accessed. And there's a settings section where we can configure details about the application, like the name, rate limiting, whether we want to use the batch API, which is more advanced feature. We can configure the system to use an SMTP mail server. It also supports file storage. You can store your files on the device or on S3, on Amazon S3. And we can also create backups for our database and restore data from backups. And another feature is cron jobs. This is one of my favorite features, but this is something that I will talk about in a subsequent video. As they have now, this was just meant as a gentle introduction to Pocketbase and how you might install it and get going. In subsequent videos, I'll go into more detail about different topics. Thank you for watching.